pole position is Peter Gellings then, who will hand that car over to the experienced Bert Langin. He's way in advance of Christoph Ulrich, though, as they come out of the Sud curve, then up towards the line. Peter Daly, the race director, gives the go-ahead, so the lights go green, we go racing. Gellings gets the drop on everybody as they head down towards turn 1, the Nord curve. Oliver Freimuth dives up the inside, and Mark Patterson gets up the curve. Just about got away with that. He's about to get attacked by Chris Rosenberger there, and Aurelius Rustiker in the Porsche gets up on the inside line. I have a horrible feeling that was about to spell disaster, but they all survived turn 1. It is Peter Gellings in the lead then as they turn right then, out of turn 2 for the first time.
Yes, indeed. The Lamborghini looked a little bit hesitant down the inside there. It was almost as if he was thinking, should I go for this? Hang on, it's wet. But he still did it. Managed not to make contact, which was the important thing there. Got out of it enough to then hit the curve. Oh, the 7's around already.
That's already
right from the front of the pack. And it didn't look like it was making much of an effort to get going again. We've got the other Lamborghini absolutely roaring its way around the outside of the Porsche there, keeping him nice and close to the left-hand side. But with the 7 dropping off early, I'm just looking in the background to see if he gets back going again, because it looked like, to me, like it came to a stop almost 4 wide. The KTM did get going again.
And there's the inevitable contact. Yeah, exactly. That's Freimuth again on Patterson. Christoph Ulrich's problem in the KTM on that wet grass is getting the traction to get off it, because it is going to be very, very boggy. I think he has got going. David Fairbrother, again new to the circuit, is doing a ripper job here, carving his way up through the traffic. Oliver Freimuth chasing after him. But significantly, look at this. Mark Patterson is dropping back. Class championship leader. He's out wide there as well, look. So losing pace, all of which has got to be brought back by Anders Fjordbach in the second stint, but that car does not suffer from an extra amount of time in the pit, so they're going to benefit from that, plus Fjordbach's pace. It's going to be really interesting, this.
I was just looking at the front left of the Lamborghini as well. The contact that we saw into the hairpin earlier has really made the front left of that car look very grumpy, as here goes the number 5 Porsche around the outside of the number 3 Audi.
And there was a big squeal of tyres, and that was why. That's Seni Sarmini from second place who's gone around. That was the squeal. So the second place KTM, blimey, Peter Gellings is having a charmed life. Any KTM that gets near him suddenly spins off. Sarmini rejoins. Stefan Rossini will take over that car in the second stint. But Peter Gellings' advantage will be even bigger now. Look, 15.5 seconds. He's nearly in race 2 so far ahead of the opposition, is he? And it's going to grow, because now David Fairbrother up into second place. It's been a good charge. He's going to have to go defensive, because now he's got Aurelius Rustiker all over him like a rash.
It looks like they're so tentative around this final sector compared to everywhere else in the lap. There must just be a lot more water down there on the circuit, because for the rest of the circuit they look fine, but just as soon as they get to that last sector, they're going nowhere. You can see on the left-hand side there, Fairbrother up 7 positions now into second place. But like you say about Gellings, it's like he's playing Mario Kart, chucking bananas out the back. Everybody that goes near him just ends up rotating it. You can see there the 7 on the left. They're just taking it nice and easy through there. But still, this now is just Fairbrother against everybody else, but that Porsche's looking potent at the moment.
And in the background, Christoph Ulrich has got going again, so he will be a lap down, but has got going again after yet another drama. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it makes you wonder whether it was another, it just wouldn't restart after another spin.
This will be the spin then for the number 7, just coming out of the left, just lights up the rears. And he's very lucky not to get collected there by the other KTM. That was incredibly close. We didn't see that originally. And I believe, is this the other moment as well? Again, just lighting up the rears. And this is what we were talking about just at the top of the broadcast there, wasn't it? These cars do move around mid-corner. If you're modulating the brakes or the throttle and just upset that momentum of the car, the inertia of it, you'll very quickly spin it around. And even there, it was just a quick blip of the throttle as Rustiker has now got up into second place. Fairbrother dropping down. You could just see the wheel just wanted to go completely left.
Fairbrother's had a moment, I fear, somewhere, because he's falling way back into 5th place. So we'll piece this all together. So yes, Aurelius Rustiker now up into second spot. And this is how in replay. So David Fairbrother in the green Lamborghini comes in way too deep, and there was no way he was going to make the corner. But in his defense, he didn't fight it. He let the car run off, let it run wide rather than suddenly try and turn and risk a spin. So he let the car flow, loses places, drops behind Freimuth, but is able to guide it back onto the road and therefore lives to fight another day. Peter Gellings leading there by 18 seconds. Second is Aurelius Rustiker in the Porsche, who's also had a good start to the race, gaining 5 spots. Mark Patterson third. Doing a very good job, actually, Mark Patterson, in his defence, because he's worked his way up the order, as there, under attack, is David Fairbrother, losing out, because past him goes Rupert Atzberger. KTM goes through. Intriguing, isn't it? The way that the Lamborghini went so well early on. Now it's sliding back down the order as other drivers, yes, I know David had his off, but other drivers seemingly getting more confident and being able to push, and that's the third KTM rotation. And this time it finds something to hit. So round goes Rupert Atzberger, sharing the car with Peter Cox, and Atzberger will rejoin, finds a gear, rallycrosses his way back onto the circuit, but again, just a bit too much lead right foot, and around it goes like a top.
Rustiker in that Porsche doing a great job as, there's been even more issues now.
And he's that number 16 of Sedi Samini once more, that was second early on. The front, it looks worse because that's how you get out of the car. You open the front of it.
Looks very dramatic.
It does, like it had a huge off. It might not be quite so bad, but yeah, safety car is being deployed. Sedi Samini, I fear, is the driver involved, so we'll piece all that together again in a moment, and that takes you to the end of 10 minutes. It might have been small on numbers to begin with, but it's been a dramatic, thanks to the weather conditions, first 10 minutes or so. Safety car deployed then, and that is so that KTM can be removed, because the last thing you need is anybody else going out wide and collecting it, and that is really bad news for Peter Gerlings. He built up a 20-second advantage, and it is about to disappear. There is the safety car. That will be deployed any moment, and they'll all bunch up. And that, as I say, is really bad news, especially given that Gerlings has an extra 10 seconds in the pits. Rustiker to Vergers has 5 seconds. Patterson to Fjordback, no extra time. So suddenly the third-placed Audi is in the pound seats. Story up at turn 2. Looks like it just got away under braking, and it's broken the suspension. I'm not sure that car's going to be out for race 2. That was a big hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a very, very big hit.
Through the Sudkurve, the first 5 at least stay out. The pit window is open, so the really smart teams might roll the dice, get them out of the traffic. I haven't yet seen anybody come into the pit lane as the cars come over the timing line then. So Gerlings leads, Rustiker second. And they're going through. Third is Patterson, fourth is Freiburg, fifth is Fairbrother, sixth Rosenberger, seventh is Rattel. The recovering Rupert Atzberger is eighth behind him, and you can see there, look, having a go, Chris Rosenberger up the inside there of the green Lamborghini up towards turn 2. The KTM brakes as late as it dares, and Rosenberger tries to go through. He's got the tighter line for turn 2. He's going to be on the outside for turn 3, but he has got the job done.
Yeah, wonderful stuff, nice and tidy. They seemed really confident when they got on the brakes, but then when they got to the apex, it was sort of like after you to see who wanted to try the wet part of the circuit first, but it had obviously dried out a lot more than they'd expected there, and the KTM disappears off down the road, but you can see them still hanging over slightly to the right. There is a little bit more water on the right-hand side of the circuit. Oh, big hit though on the Lambo. Really late on the brakes from Fairbrother, and the very sort of low-slung, pointy front end of that Lamborghini lifts the KTM off the ground. I'm intrigued to see what damage there is on the KTM, but there's a big old whack on the front of the Lamborghini. And the stewards will have a look at that, no doubt. So David Fairbrother either was caught out by the braking of the KTM or braked far too late, depending on who you're going to talk to post-race. Well, he survives it, and the Lamborghini, which has been off the road already this weekend, has had a couple of drive shaft failures as well, takes another hit, but carries on almost undaunted. It's like swatting a fly, isn't it? He just dispenses with the KTM, battles on regardless. Now here, third and fourth have got themselves together. Mark Patterson, look, dropping away from Aurelius Rustiker into the clutches of Oliver Freimuth. They almost came to blows on the opening lap when Freimuth was a bit toey, but he's on the back now of the Audi, and Rattel, fifth, he's also catching up, so he's benefited out of all of that. He's just gained another 2 places. So it's a race full of drama, that is for sure. Pit window is open, and now we should expect, should we not, to have people diving in. I think Patterson's coming for the pit lane. Yes, he is. Yeah. That was very hesitant for a moment there, wasn't it? It almost looked like he just couldn't decide, but yeah, he does jump in and gets away from that battle, because it's well, we've got race leader in as well, and Rustiker. It's probably a really good call to get out of that battle though, because the Lamborghini behind him there, if they would have battled for the following lap, then that would have really thrown up any sort of order between the two of them.
Now we're told, thanks Gemma, that this is on slicks. Number 33, Anders Fjordbach, is on slicks. That tallies, doesn't it? Because you can see the writing on the side of the tyres, the new tyres, and it also accounts for why the car lost time in the pits, because it didn't have any extra success time, and is also looking a bit lively right now. So Fjordbach slicks versus Vergers on wets. Enjoy.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Who's your money on, basically? Fantastic stuff. So they've both got different parts of the circuit they can benefit from now. Of course, this number 33 Audi, he can use the dry line. He can hit the apexes where that line has dried out, or not.
He can hit the wall if he's not careful.
Yeah, I was going to say.
the question is about those that have already changed. You could argue that that was at their suggestion, their risk in a sense, but it hadn't been authorised at that stage by the race director. So it could well be that there are penalties coming for the likes of Fjordback for changing tyres before authorised. Now, you might think that's a strange regulation because normally it's up to you to roll the dice and do what you want on tyres. However, with this being, if you like, a gentleman drivers series, it's a little bit different. So there is the charging Fjordback, who has now done the fastest lap of the race, and he's very nearly 3 seconds quicker than Michael Verkers, but it might actually be to no effect, because if he's pitted too early, or rather changed the tyres too early, I should say, that could come back to bite them. We're checking with the officials, but Fjordback may not, I'm afraid, survive all of this.
Dave, we've just seen a replay of your accident. It looked a pretty big moment, actually. What happened?
Yeah, well, obviously once the safety car goes in, everybody's sort of jockeying for positions, and the Lambos don't turn as well as the KTMs. The KTMs are very nimble and they turn really quickly. So it got me on the run down to turn 2. I went through turn 2, turn 3, and I thought, right, I'll just get behind him. And my braking point into the hairpin is something like 180 to 280 metres. We brake, I braked, but he braked at 250. I knew I had to hit him square, or I'd take the corner out of the car, so I just hit him. And the next thing, his engine's staring me in the face.
A big moment, but glad you're okay. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
I've never heard a racing driver actually admit to hitting him square. I mean, I see totally the rationale from David Fairbrother, but to hear a driver say I had to line him up, I had to hit him square to reduce the amount of damage on both, that's an interview to replay and play again.
Yeah, love the honesty on
absolutely.
that.
David, a career in the British Touring Car Championship beckons, I reckon. Right, up towards the Spitzkehrer, there is the charging Fjordback. He's got ahead, as you've seen, of Bert Langin. So there is the leading Porsche. But race control are looking at that car for changing tyres before it was authorised by the race director.
Well, it could be a race that's decided afterwards. The Porsche still using all of the road, running very wide through the left kink here. But look at the confidence the 33 Audi has out of there. Amazing.
Yeah, pressing on, and the gap's coming down and down and down all the time with 13 minutes to go. In terms of pure pace, Fjordback is on, isn't he? I mean, you can see the way he's absolutely reeling in Vergers, whose last lap was a 56.4, and Fjordback's last lap was a 49.4. So this is obscene, the amount of extra pace that car's got, and it's purely down to having the right boots on. Look at this for the race lead. Easy peasy, up the inside goes Anders Fjordbach, and there's just nothing that Vergers can do.
No, it's painful on Berger's part, because he's trying to get the most out of those tyres, the most out of that car, and he just has to watch the Audi go flying down the inside. And I was just going to touch on before the difference in pace. These guys, when they did the fastest lap of the race earlier on, it was a 2:03.7 in the wet, and now they're doing 1:49. So that just shows you how different it is. It's not like it's just 4 or 5 seconds, it's more like 20.
Yeah. Tyre changes have now been authorised, and therefore people can come in. Now, if this car were to get a penalty, it could be a pure time penalty post-race. So it's in Fjordback's best interest now just to go hell for leather and try and win by the biggest possible margin. If, for example, their Verkers or their Langin were to come in now and do a tyre change stop, then they would lose so much time that they might be even further back, so that a penalty to Fjordback would still keep him in the lead, if you're following all of this. Racer in Formula Ford 1600s himself, so they know what they're talking about, the officials. And here, look, Vergers, with the car sliding all over the road, is under huge pressure from the car that led the first stint, the Audi, in the hands of Bert Langin, who is all over him like a rash, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like he's got the fast food trays under the back end like we used to have in our front-wheel drive hatchbacks, trying to make him drift around the McDonald's car park. Honestly, it's all over the shop on the brakes, and even when he's putting the power down, the Audi just looks so much more planted, and it's a real shame for that number 5 Porsche, because earlier on in the race, it looked so potent. He was absolutely on a mission. But look at this now, Langin down the inside, nice and convincing into turn 1. You can see the Porsche dancing on the brakes, tries to get a cutback, doesn't quite work at turn 1 at Hockenheim, but now he's on the damp part of the track slightly. On the right-hand side, is he going to try and outbrake him? I'll tell you what, he's still fighting it, though.
Absolutely.
A little bit later on the brakes.
Go on, Verge, up the inside. He's done it. Yep, brakes late, gets the place back. But the drive the Audi has is just better than the Porsche, which again is sliding all over the road. And Bert Langin goes round the outside, approaching the Parabolica, and through he goes, up into second place. Now, if Michael Verkers is really brave, under braking now for the Spitzkehrer hairpin. He might be able to fight back. Let's see. He's on the wets. He's got a dampish part of the road. Wide in, he's tight out. But that car has just got no traction relative to the Audi. And Langevin stays ahead and look, drives off the corner so much better.
Just disappears up the road. He got a really good initial launch out of that Vergas, but as soon as that Audi just shifts up a gear, it just digs in and off it goes. He's still looking stuck at that. He's completely sideways around the right.
It's great to watch, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, we were talking about drifting on the way down here. I might get back into it. Flipping heck, Vergas certainly trying to, but just when it matters most, look, it's just floating around the corner. It's just not as pointy as that Audi, is it?
And he's absolutely praying that at some point that he shows his right foot to the pedal, there'll be some grip, but he'll actually come out of the corner where he wants to be, because every corner seems to be a step into the unknown, because the tyres are absolutely shot. And around goes...
Is that the Lamborghini? That's the Jordan Witt Lambo.
It is. So Jordan Witt has had a drama just to add to the woes of the weekend in that car. And he's taken a KTM with him, because most incidents involve a KTM. And look, broken toe link at the back, number 17 KTM. That is Klaus Angerhofer. So let's have a look at that in a moment, if we can. Here you go. And boom, up the inside. I'm not entirely sure. Jordan Witt was fully alongside, and then he collects him again as he goes past that secondary contact. So that's another KTM in the wars.
Yeah, it's like, you hit my right rear, I'll take yours as well. Look,
he's not fully alongside, is he?
No, and then ready?
There's the second one, and that turns Jordan around.
Just the wheel, he's just floating it through the corner, isn't he? It's just tiny, precise movements. KTM low-slung machine right behind.
I would slightly take issue that they're not precise. I think for Michael Vergas, he is having to really fight that car, because he does not know what it's going to do. He's being oh so gentle with it, as he has to be, but he just does not have that grip that others around him have. I mean, that KTM is another one on an absolute mission, but the Porsche clearly is struggling, and it's about to get mugged out wide. Slides Vergas. By the time he's managed to gather it all up and get back onto the racetrack, Peter Cox has gone.
It's almost NASCAR style, like the bodywork doesn't look like it's lined up with the underside of the car properly. It's just completely sideways, floating everywhere it goes. And he's going to be absolutely gutted. There you go, you can see Peter Cox flashing the light saying, I'm coming for you, and he's going after Langevin.
Absolutely, and with 5 minutes on the clock, plus this Damocletian investigation for Fjordback, it could be a very crucial battle. I don't know if there is going to be a penalty, and it's not for me to decide what the penalty would be were there to be one, as this is Langevin versus Cox. But just to throw into the melting pot, the minimum time that you have to be in the pits for the regulation tyre change, when the race director allows slicks to wets, wets to slicks, is 48 seconds. He's on target to be 48 seconds clear at the end of the race, which might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. He could actually, even if he does get a penalty, he might end up surviving it. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Really good stuff from Peter Cox. A wider entry into the second to last. Down the inside. Thank you very much. Puts the Audi out onto the wetter part of the circuit.
That's on slicks as well, is it not?
Disappears. I believe it is, yeah.
So this might be a story that we carry on with later in the day, once the stewards have unravelled all the data and seen who did what and when. But it's been a really impressive stint, irrespective of whether the tyres were on at the right time or not, because Fjordback has just driven the wheels off this thing.
Oh, he's absolutely disappeared up the road. It's been unbelievable. You get these drivers that can just respond to things happening in a race. It's almost as if the team have said, right, we're under investigation, open a lap, and he goes, hold my beer, watch this. Absolutely gone. Amazing stuff.
Not cold beer, I should think, in these conditions as well.
Hope so.
Right, so by nearly a minute, he leads from Peter Cox, and Bert Langevin leading, if you like, the wet class in third overall ahead of Michael Vergas. So as they come then into the stadium for, in the case there, you can see of the leader the last time, and actually Jordan Witt backs out of that, lets him go for fear of doing another lap. So that's the top four on the lead lap, and only the top four. Checkered flag at the ready. It's going to be a second victory of the season, provisionally, for Mark Patterson and Anders Fjordbach on slicks on an ever-drying road, who comes through now to take the checkered flag. Anders Fjordbach wins the third race of the year in the Fanatec GT2 European Series. Provisional result, Anders Fjordbach the winner from the Audi he shares with Mark Patterson, ahead of Rupert Atzberger and Peter Cox. Peter Gelinks and Bert Langevin third, Aurelius Rustiker and Michael Vergas fourth, ahead of David Fairbrother and Jordan Witt fifth. A lap down, but fifth, which is a remarkable effort given how many incidents the car seemed to be involved in. Anders Fjordbach, a second victory of the season as he stands on the top step of the podium at the end of race one for the Fanatec GT2 European Series. A great drive by the high-class racing duo.